The team of the year. After the driver of the year, naturally this would follow. Now, I was compelled to go for Mercedes with the way they've just been a well-oiled machine. Of course, complacency often comes in when you win the championship for the sixth odd time. But really, there were other star performers too. Nithyanand, who was your team of the year this time on?
My team of the year goes to one of the best constructors in the Formula One history. You can guess who it is.
Ah,
Mercedes.
okay, okay. This one right here?
No, not that one. Statistically, um,
Ah,
uh, actually, I would start from the first day of the season. When in the preseason testing, they introduced DAS,
hmm,
which implies they are a step better than other teams. They always think out of the box. Like mm, other teams are still figuring out what is DAS. They actually tried and raced in Austria, I guess, if I'm not wrong. Then second one is they trust their process. I'll give you one example. In Shaki GP, they double stacked. Um, they double stacked and they failed miserably. But in Abu Dhabi GP, they did the same. Actually, like Kunal said in Abu Dhabi GP review, it
exactly.
teaches us the lesson. Like I believe in football managers. So
Yes.
even if they lose matches, they trust their own tactics and process. Similarly, Mercedes are doing this. They believe their own process. And to top it off, I'll give you a few stats. Mercedes have led 42% of the laps in the season, which is their second best after 2016. They
Wow.
have scored they have scored 33.71 points on average. 33.71 out of 43.
Wow.
That is humongous.
Wow.
That is humongous.
Wow.
So I'm so I can't think of any other team above Mercedes.
It really does feel all the more spectacular when you look at it from that point of view, doesn't it? Just, just the beauty of stats. Speaking of stats, Sundaram is one who's big on stats. Check out the Pitch to Podium stats section on the website. I know I'm plugging things shamelessly right here, but you should. You genuinely enjoy it. Sundaram, which brings me on to you. Statistically, as Nithyanand mentioned, nobody more impressive than Mercedes. Was there any other team that impressed you a little bit more, though? Was it Fernando's old machinery, old guard, that came in and did a pretty good job this year?
You're making the right guesses over here. I would have picked Mercedes, but then yeah, like you mentioned, they're a well-oiled machine. They've made a couple of mistakes. That's why I'm probably taking the award from them and handing it to someone
Wow,
else.
don't be too
Um,
harsh.
Uh,
I'm going to give it to McLaren this season because they've had a very interesting progression over the last few years, especially when they moved to Renault. So I think they were sixth, then they were fourth, and now they're third by a very slender margin. But I think they're the only team this year, or one of the only teams to have two men leading the charge for them rather than one person overshadowing the other driver completely.
Hmm.
So Mercedes in case, Red Bull, Ferrari, Racing Point, and even Renault. So all of these teams have their lead driver or one of their drivers having a deficit of 50 points to the other. In the case of McLaren, it was just 8 points between Lando and Carlos. So which shows that both of them performing consistently was key in them finishing third in the championship. And another fact is that they've had very minimal reliability issues. Amongst all the midfield teams, they've had the least retirements. They've had only one race retirement thanks to car problems, whereas
Hmm.
Racing Point have been having engine issues, power unit issues, and Renault's having some brake issues as well in a couple of races. So I think that's been a very complete team this year. Not as dominant as Mercedes, I would say, but then I think they've taken a very good step forward in recent years, and this was a very good sign of the years to come.
Indeed. What about you, Kunal? Who are you going for right here in this one?
You know, it's tough to look beyond Mercedes. I understand, Sundaram's views on why he's chosen McLaren. Very, very, very good season. Not the top, not the third fastest car by any measure, but they've gotten there on teamwork, of literally teamwork. Because you see Renault, heavily skewed with Daniel Ricciardo scoring. Racing Point heavily skewed with Checo Perez's scoring and so on. So I understand why McLaren would be his pick, but I would pick Mercedes again just for one reason. Okay, that W11 won a race by itself, which is fine. Okay, it won a race on three wheels, which was also great.
Exactly.
Even more so, the W10 ended up winning a race this year as well. And I know I mentioned this, on one of our earlier episodes, but that's just how dominant they've been in 19 and 20. That a 2019 Mercedes was could win against all the other rivals in their 2020 machinery. Of course, this is not the most obvious state in which the cars went racing, but it's just so tough to look beyond Mercedes, because we spoke of complacency, we spoke of momentum, we've spoken of several things that could go wrong. And coincidentally, we've just literally written a post saying, is Mercedes the greatest of all times, when it comes to Formula One teams? And, we've seen there have been statements where drivers have said, oh, 90% of the drivers could win in the Mercedes, right? And that in itself is extreme sense of pride for Mercedes. I'm pretty sure it's the best form of flattery when you as a constructor literally can focus on building the best car, and that's what they've done time and again.
You could look at it in two ways. It's either a thing of pride, or not even either. It is a thing of pride and a brilliant negotiating chip as well for them. Because if everyone says that 90% of the grid can win in a Mercedes, no, we're not going to offer you 40 million. But no, Hamilton deserves to be there. He deserves to command the kind of feat that he's doing. It's not just the driving; it's also the brand image that he's bringing along with him. But that's Team of the Year done.